And you talk about a new awareness in human consciousness that is coming forth. And if you will oblige me here for a moment, as I read from your book this powerful statement, and I'm paraphrasing here, that after millions of years of struggle and ascent, we are poised on the brink of a sunrise that will forever change the conditions of life on this planet. All current structures will quickly become irrelevant. All truths will be rendered passé. A new epoch is dawning. There is guiding intelligence within it that knows the future, our bright future, and is preparing us for it systematically. And I just get chills reading this.
And the chapter that you were quoting from first is from this chapter on the birth of the future human, which I think is probably the most important chapter in the book because it concerns our children, our grandchildren, all of our great children, grandchildren over time. It concerns the human project. And it was one of the complete surprises to me that I was being plunged systematically, year after year, into this series of visions that I was given about humanity, where we are in our current evolution, where we are going, and how this is all being laid out. For 4 years, starting in 1991, so it's a long time ago, this series of visions that humanity was coming to a turning point in its history, a point that it had been preparing itself for systematically for hundreds of thousands of years. But we were coming to this crescendo of history. We were being taken into a crisis in which there was a birth taking place that was a birth not of individual enlightened beings in a sense, but it was a birth of a profound shift in the collective psyche of humanity, a shift that would forever change the future of all human beings who are born after this shift. And I don't think of this shift as something that would take place in a couple of years or a couple of decades. I think it's a multi-generational challenge. We were entering this magnificent period, challenging, but a magnificent period with all these spiritual opportunities coming to us, a shift in the energetic base of the human psyche. But I had not seen how in the world nature was going to pull this off, because when I looked around, I saw people walking around in mall consciousness and sports stadium consciousness. I didn't see a whole lot of, serious, large-scale spiritual work being done. I was missing a lot of it, I'm sure. And then in 1995, I had the experience, a rather radical experience. After a tremendous strip down, I dissolved individually, I dissolved into the collective psyche, and then I entered into deep time, and I was given a visionary experience of what I think is in the process of unfolding for humanity. And that is, I entered a time when I saw that everything was beginning to unravel. All the assumptions of life were beginning to be undermined. We were basically going through a falling apart process. What we could do for a living, where we could live for a living. Fundamental institutions of our civilizations were breaking down. And it appeared to be, and I wasn't given a lot of detail here, but it appeared to be some type of global crisis that was being driven by a cascading series of ecological crises that just kept hammering us and taking us deeper and deeper into crisis. And then when it looked like we were going to go extinct, when it looked like it just couldn't get any worse than this, the worst of the storm passed and we began to pick ourselves up. And when we did, we discovered that this crisis had opened us so deeply, it had broken down the barriers of our human heart so deeply and so intensely that when we emerged, we found that we had been changed by the historical global crisis. We began to find the new bubbling up inside of us, new values, new insights, new understandings. And this began to synergistically feed on other people's insights and understanding. It wasn't just individuals having this awakening, but it was so deep, this crisis was so deep that it triggered a response in all humanity. And I think we will get into it later if you want, but I think this has to do with some of the fundamental physics, you might say, of the collective psyche. What happens when the collective psyche is shifted into nonlinear conditions, states of high arousal, which our global suffering took us into. It took me about a year to recover from just that one last vision, because the ordeal of witnessing so much pain and suffering, of experiencing the pain that the human family would be going through in the years and decades ahead, it was devastating. It was really hard. And I walked around my hometown feeling like I was walking around Hiroshima the week before the bomb was dropped, knowing that everyone here is a hero. Everyone on the planet knew what they were getting into. They were heroes for being here. And at some deep level, they did understand what was happening and what they were here for, though on the surface they may not have understood. There are many important insights that emerged from the work, but this particular story of humanity is one of the most important, I think.